welcome to Rudegyalkitchen. I'm so happy to finally be posting my first YouTube video. I've been talking about this for like a long time, and I don't know what's been stopping me, but right now I feel like it's time. I told myself that I'm stepping out my comfort zone from here on out. I'm going to continue to follow my dreams and do things that I've never done. So on that note, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Bria Waldron. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, 24 years old, and I am the owner and CEO of Rudegyalkitchen. If you're wondering why my face is so beat, I just came from brunch. So I thought this was the perfect time to record. But anyways, like a year ago, I made like a credit, I did like a credit lesson on my Instagram, but I didn't make a video. I kind of like wrote post and just posted it. And a lot of people told me that I should have recorded because it was very helpful and it was a lot to read. So I thought that I would use that information from my first video to tell you guys how you're able to build credit and rebuild your credit. As a lot of you may have known, I ruined my credit. It wasn't terrible, but to me it was terrible because I own a business and one day I want to like open a restaurant. So credit is needed for the loans that I need. So I hope that this video is helpful to anyone. And if you're just stopping by just to watch, I appreciate that as well. And I hope that you guys subscribe below. So thank you so much and let's go. What is credit? I feel like credit is like a downplayed term. Like in all reality, credit is borrowed money. But it's money that you have to pay back because that's what borrowed means, right? So when looking at credit, you're buying something now and paying later. And I feel like a lot of people get caught up with not paying that back because they're just like, oh, I have time. They gave me the credit line that I wanted or that I possibly needed, so I'm just going to pay back whenever. And that's definitely not how it works. So I'm going to give you guys a list of things that affect your credit. The first thing is your credit history. How long have you had credit? And that plays a big part because if you just got a credit card, you may not get approved for another one anytime soon because it's your first card. You have no credit history, so it kind of takes like a year or so to build that credit up. A lot of people are unable to get credit cards because they have no credit at all, and credit card companies probably won't trust you, so they're like, well, we're not going to give this person a card. So a way to build your credit is to get a secured card. I personally never had a secured card, but the way it works is that you put money down, say like it's $200, and it's treated as a credit card, so you could use the $200 and pay it back, and they'll do it like that for like a month. They do it like that for like a year, or it could be as little as 7 months. It depends on the company. They'll just see like how you pay it back and they'll determine. I can't really give that answer because I'm not a creditor. But yeah. So that's one way to build up credit if you have none at all. Another way is to let someone that you know who has a great credit score to make you an authorized user. So if your mom or your dad have an 800 credit score, let them make you an authorized user because their credit will reflect on your credit report. They could decide to give you a card to spend if they want. I'm pretty sure they don't want to, but they don't have to give you a card. They could just put your name on their account as an authorized user, and that will help build your credit. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, and I actually did not know that till I worked for a Discover credit card company. So that's another way. So other things that affect your credit. So payment history is, how do you usually make your payments? Are you always on time? Are you always late? That definitely plays a big fact in your credit score. You always want to be on time with your payments, and if you're not, what you want to do is set up automatic payments. And I know a lot of people hate it because they start to forget, like, oh my God, like I made this big purchase for like $700 today, and damn, tomorrow I owe the credit card company $50. You just get that thank you for your payment email at the wrong time. That happened to me all the time. But that's one way. One factor that affects your credit score, your payment history. So I will give you guys like a very fun fact So if you're late on your payments, like 30 days late, say your credit card was due on on September 12th. Now it's October 12th. That's 30 days late. That's not going to be reported to the credit card company. Once it carries to November 12th, that's going to show on your credit report as delinquent, but as 30 days. Even though it technically is 60 days, they're only going to report it as 30 days. But so you're safe, but you're not safe because at the end of the day, it's still showing on your credit report that you're late. Right now, when I go on Credit Karma and look at my credit history, I'm at 94%, all because I missed 2 payments like a year or 2 ago, and it did not go away yet. And I'm so confused. Like, okay, I've made every other payment on time, and you guys are holding that against me. So it's very important that you guys want to make your payments on time. Another thing that affects your credit is your credit card usage. So they say that your credit card should all be under 30% of the balance. So if your credit line is $1,300, you don't want to spend more than $390 on that card. Yes, it doesn't really sound realistic because it's just like, all right, if I have $1,300, I most likely want to spend $500, which is cool. But the right way to spend $500 is if you could pay that $500 right back when your payment is due. If you can't pay that $500 back, what you want to do is spend $390 only, because you could probably afford to pay that back over paying the $500. So make sure that you keep your credit cards under 30% or at a zero balance. Either one looks great on your credit report. So any card that you have right now, if your credit line is $2,000, do 2,000 times 0.30, and it will tell you how much is 30%. And that's a very useful way. And if you can't do that, like say if you spend $500, try to pay like $112. I think $112 is, if you subtract that from $500, that's $390 of the $1,300 credit line. I don't know, I'm just making numbers up, but I'm pretty sure if it's not that, it's close. But that's another factor, I should say, that affects your credit score. So another thing that affects your credit score are credit inquiries. So credit inquiries are how many times you requested an increase in your credit line, or how many times you've applied or opened a new credit card. What you don't want to do is open multiple credit cards at once, because most of the time you don't get approved for all. So that's like a negative effect on your credit score, and that makes up 10% of your credit score. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it really plays like a big role. So say your credit line is $500 and you're just like, damn, like I really have something that's like $1,000. Let me just try to ask them if they could raise my credit limit. You call them and you try it, because you can't really request like how much money you need when you do like a credit card increase. It does depend on the company and what they want to do, but God forbid you don't get approved, that's a negative effect on your credit score. So one thing I would suggest is that before you even request to do a line of credit increase, you call your credit card company, tell them you're interested in getting a line of credit increase, and then ask them if it's a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry. If it's a soft inquiry, it won't show on your credit report. So if it's a soft inquiry and you don't get approved, it's basically like the credit bureaus don't know anything about it. But if it's a hard inquiry and you don't get approved, that shows on your credit report. So imagine if you keep getting denied for a credit line increase on your cards, it's going to keep showing on your credit report, and your score is going to get lower and lower. It takes 2 years for inquiries to fall off your credit line. So say if you applied for a loan to get a car and you didn't get approved, that's going to show you approved for you applied for a personal loan and you didn't get approved, that's going to show on your credit report, and it's not going to go away for 2 years. So you really want to make sure that you think long and hard about these inquiries, and really think about, like, do you really need it, or is it something that's in the moment that you're trying to get? Another thing that affects your credit score are unforeseen circumstances. Unforeseen circumstances are things like unpaid bills, unpaid tickets, unpaid child support, and yes, that does show. So pay your damn child support, because you could pay anything else. So just pay the child support. Like, I'm not trying to be like rude or nothing, but like, that's gonna show on your credit report, and people are not gonna want to approve you for loans or for credit cards because of something that small. So other things that show on your credit report are like collections, medical bills, unpaid rent. You want to make sure that those things are paid, because it will affect your score. Why is credit important? I feel like this is an overlooked question, because people are just like, because I need credit, and that's it. They don't really know why. But credit is important for a number of reasons. So I'm going to refer back to my book, because I have a lot of things written down. So credit is important because you need the ability to rent. You're applying for an apartment, right? That apartment complex is going to run your credit to see what type of person you are. They want to know if they're going to get their rent on time. You're trying to buy a car, you need a loan. Well, most likely you need a loan if you're not a rich person. So you're not going to get approved for that loan to finance your car if your credit score is not good. And nowadays, jobs are starting to check your credit score. I feel like every job that I've gotten since I graduated college, they've literally like ran my credit score. And I used to be so nervous, because I'm just like, damn, well, my credit score isn't extremely low, but to me it's low, and I don't feel like I'm gonna get the job because of something that small. Well, small to me. Credit also determines the price that you pay for a service. So for example, you're trying to get insurance on your car, and if your credit is low, your insurance is going to be very high. If you're trying to lease a car or finance a car, your insurance is, the monthly payments are going to be very high because your credit is low. So these are things I feel like a lot of people don't even think about or don't know about in regards to credit. So they really kind of don't care like what their score is, because they're not thinking about that when it comes to making these purchases. But those things are very important in regards to your credit. Even cell phone companies start to pull your credit nowadays. And also, if you plan on opening a business, you're gonna need that loan to open your business. Like in my terms, I'm gonna need a loan to open a restaurant, and I can't get the loan if my credit score isn't good. So this is why I've been going so hard trying to improve my credit score, because I want to get that $100,000 loan to open my restaurant. If my credit is not good, I'm gonna need a co-signer, and that's hard to find because nobody really wants to co-sign. I don't blame them, because I definitely wouldn't co-sign either. But these things are very important. So for those who don't know, your credit can range from 350 to 850. Of course, 350 being the lowest, 850 being the highest. So the 700 to 750 is considered as great. 750 to 850 is considered as excellent. Great is good, but I like to be in the excellent part, and that's my goal, to get in the excellent and stay in the excellent. And a lot of things can happen that could lower your score, but there's always a way to build your score back up. It's like a gamble. I always say, like, credit is like a game. Like, you're just playing around with it. You're trying to figure out how to lower it, how to higher it. And I feel like I go through that a lot. Like, I would like make a payment on my card, and then I go on Credit Karma right away to check my score. Like, oh my God, did my credit score go up? And it doesn't work that way, because it depends on when your credit card company reports to the credit bureaus. So there are three main credit bureaus. There's Equifax, TransUnion, and there's Experian. And you could view these on creditkarma.com, which is a great website, a great app to keep track of your credit. It gives you tips on how to raise your credit. I feel like I'm on the app every single day. Like, I'm kind of obsessed, because I'm just like, oh my God, is my credit going up? Is my credit going lower? But it's very useful, so I recommend it to anyone. So one thing that you really don't want to do when paying your credit card is paying exactly the minimum, because that money that you're paying is going only to your interest. Is not going to lower your balance. So for example, you have a Discover credit card and your credit line is $1,300, and you spent like $1,200 on the card. Most likely your limit, most likely your minimum is going to be $35. So the way minimum payments are determined are either the greater of 2% of your balance or $35. So it depends. And that's kind of confusing, but like that's how it works. It's 2% of your balance or the greater of 35. And when you only pay $35 to your credit card, you're only paying your interest down. So say if you pay like $40 instead, $35 is going to go to your interest and $5 is going to go to your balance. That's going to take you like 18 months to pay down your credit card to zero. Or probably more than that, to be honest, but that sounds bad. You could pay down $1,200 in like 6 months or less. As long as you're paying correctly, as long as you have the money, like it's not that hard. Well, I can even say it's not that hard. It depends on your circumstance if you can pay that or not. But if you cannot pay that, you shouldn't be spending $1,200 if you feel like you have no way to pay that back. So my advice to people is, at least if your minimum is $35 to pay $50. In that case, $35 is going to go to your minimum, which is your interest, and the other $15 is going to go to your balance. What I like to do is I like to pay $100 on my credit cards if the balance is that high. So my minimum is $35 and I pay $100. That means that $35 is going to go to my minimum, which is the interest, and $65, I believe that's the number, is going to go to my balance. So if you ever get stuck with trying to see like what's a good amount to pay, just subtract how much you plan on paying. If it's $100, subtract $35. That $35 is always going to go to your interest, and that remainder is always going to go to your balance. So that's like an easier way to see how and where your payments are going. So let's take a look at the difference between credit and cash and the pros and the cons. So credit. Of course, one pro is buy now, pay later, but you put yourself in debt when you do that. Because if you don't pay it back right away, you have to worry about paying back whatever you spent every month. With cash, you're limited. If you only come out with $100, you know that you only have $100 to spend. But when you go with your credit card, you're like, damn, what I want is $150, so I could just put on my credit card and pay the $150 back. Now you're overspending. But the thing with credit is that your card seems to always be secured. So say, for example, somebody got your credit card numbers online, they're scamming your account, they're making purchases that you didn't make yourself. You call your credit card company, they investigate, and you get your money back. You come outside with $100 and you lose that $100, you're never seeing that money again unless someone is like an angel and they're honest enough to give it back. But most likely, that person didn't even see you drop the $100. They just randomly found it on the ground. So you're not getting that $100 back. A pro with cash is that everyone takes cash. So you don't have to worry about a place not accepting cash. With credit, sometimes people don't take credit, which is kind of weird in this generation. But I feel like more places are starting to take like credit and debit now. So those are like pros and cons as well. So another pro of credit is that a lot of companies require a credit card to even make the purchase. So for example, you're going to Miami, you're trying to get like a fire rental. You need a credit card on file to get the rental. You're not going to take debit, they're not going to take cash. You're trying to book a hotel, a lot of hotels going to say you need a major credit card. Or you're trying to book a flight, they're going to say that you need a major credit card. Don't get me wrong, some companies will ask for debit, but that's very rare. Most of them are going to ask for a credit card. But a con I would say for credit is that besides putting yourself in debt, you're paying interest. So if you don't pay your credit card in full, if your balance is $800 and you don't pay the $800 back, you're going to be receiving interest on that balance until it's paid off. You guys probably want to know how I ruined my credit score. So everything that I stated before earlier in the video, I did not do. I opened a credit score when I was 19 years old. I was fiending. It was homecoming time. I'm like, no, I need clothes now. I'm not wearing stuff I already have. Like, I need new things. My best friend and I was just like, all right, we're just going to open a card and see what happens. And we got approved. I remember this was probably like 2015. I got approved for $1,000. When you're 19, 18 years old, $1,000 is like $1 million to you. You're just like, oh my God, I have so much money. I can buy so many things. Now you're just looking at 24 years old, you're looking at $1,000 like, what? This is like $100. Like, I can't do nothing with this. But anyways, I opened that card in 2015. In 2016, this genius, I wanted weave and I didn't want to come out of pocket for it, and my parents was not having it. They didn't want to buy the weave for me. So I opened another credit card just to buy my bundles. And then I'm like, oh, it's another credit card. I have all this money available. So I'm going to buy the bundles and I'm just going to keep buying stuff on it. Max. When I got that card in 2015, it was a Discover card for homecoming. I'm only going to spend $500. I did only spend $500. And then I just kept buying and buying and buying. Like, it was just like I was addicted. Like, I couldn't stop. $1,300 maxed. Like, just gone. 2017, I'm about to graduate. I wanted to buy somebody a gift for their birthday. But I had the bread, but like I needed my bread, but I wanted to get them a gift too. So I opened another card, maxed the card. Now, it's Bria. She's 22 years old. And she has to pay all these cards back. And me, my minimum was $35, but I was only paying $40. So $40. So $35 was only going to my interest and $5 was going to my balance. And my balance just kept going up and up. And at times when I was able to at least pay half of the card off, I would spend it all over again. I should have just never got any of these cards, right? But it's easier said than done. Like, you're a teenager. It's like free money being thrown at you, and you do it. And 2017, I lost my job. I'm trying to figure out, like, 2018, I'm sorry, I lost my job. I'm trying to figure out, like, how am I going to pay all these cards? So I started missing payments. I started lowering my payments. Like, it was just bad. Like, then you're only thinking about, okay, I only have to pay $35 to this one credit card. Then you get another credit card, that's another $35. You get 31, that's another $35. That's over $100 that you have to pay a month that you probably don't even have. Well, I didn't have it at the time because I was unemployed. So it's just like, damn, like all these payments coming out my card every month. What am I going to do? Another thing that lowered my credit score was that I always had inquiries. I was always I was always opening or trying to open new cards. I was always trying to request a higher credit line, or I was trying to apply for a loan that would help me pay off my credit cards, but that didn't work out. So all these things were showing on my credit report, along with my balance being at the maximum, along with my balance not being under 30%. All of these things were reflecting on my credit report, and my score was just getting lower and lower and lower. And then my loans were supposed to be deferred because I was unemployed. And whoever I called months before to tell them that I was unemployed did not defer my loans, and it showed right on my credit report. My score alone went down 60 points just from that. And you guys could only imagine how much more it went down just from me being unemployed. Like, it was terrible. So now this is Bria 2019. A disaster. I moved back to New York. It was hard finding a job, so I was just going hard with my business, trying to pay my bills at the same time, always paying on time. But what I did differently was that I made sure I did not use those cards. I cut up all my credit cards and I locked them. So if you ever go on your app, or you can call over the phone to do this, you can lock your credit score. You can lock your credit line so that no purchases go through. So say if you go to like Zara and you just like, damn, I have my card on wallet, let me just do it. Then you get to the register and your card declines because you forgot that your card was locked. It happened to me many of times. I'm like, damn, this is God telling me that you locked your card for a reason. So why are you even trying to use the damn card? And I would just walk away and be like, damn, well, It's either I'm gonna walk away and not get nothing, or I'm gonna just use my debit card and use the money on my card that I'm not gonna have to pay back. I'm just putting myself more and more in debt because I was trying to buy now and pay later. And that's the issue that a lot of people have told me that they faced. So if you don't have the money in your account, don't make that purchase unless you really need to make that purchase. But if it's for a bag or some shoes or something dumb, and say if the bag is like $1,300 and your account doesn't have double of $1,300, don't make that purchase because most likely you're not going to be able to pay it back in full next month. And if you could, kudos to you. Make sure you pay it back. And I feel like a lot of people, they know they have the money, but they don't want to see it leave their account. So they're going to make the purchase now and take forever to pay that back. That's the worst thing you want to do. And it's just making me so proud that I'm actually saying this because I was always that person, like, just put it on your credit card. Just put it on your credit card until I had like a real eye-opener. And my score went down like over 100 points at one point. So it was just like, what am I doing? Like, I want to open my business by the time I'm 25, which is not looking like it's going to happen because like I'm 24 and I'm going to be 25 in like 3 months. But you never know what's going to happen. You never know what God's plan is. But for right now, it doesn't look like I'm going to open that at 25. But still, I want to be ready for when I do want to open that and when I do want to apply for that loan to open my business. But on that note, make sure that your credit, your balance is lower, 30% or lower. Don't have your cards at 50%, 60%. It happens, but if you plan on paying your card back, that balance, like you made the $800 purchase and you know that next month you're going to pay exactly $800 off, then good, you're fine. You could spend 70% of your credit line, but if you're not, don't spend more than 30% if you know that you're not going to pay it back when it's due the next month. It's that simple. It sounds like, it sounds simple and then it sounds hard, but like, yes, it's easier said than done, but you really have to train yourself. It took a while for me to train myself. I don't expect it to happen overnight for anyone as well, but you really, really, really have to train yourself with your money. Because the more that you don't, the more you're going to spend and the more debt you're going to be in as you're getting older and older. And one day you're probably going to want to start a family, maybe start a business, buy a house, get a nice car. And you won't be able to get it at the time that you want to get it because your credit score is going to be bad. And you can't put all the money down. Your car is $20,000. If you don't have $20,000 saved, then you're not going to get that car because you're not going to get approved for the loan. So work on your credit now when you're young so that when you're older, you can make all these purchases. These are a few things I did to raise my credit score. I raised my credit score over 100 points in 6 months. And I'm going to get kind of personal. My credit score was in the 500s, which is like poor. I guess. Well, to me, it's poor. I think on the credit report, it says like fair. I don't remember. But to me, that's poor. And I raised my credit score to be almost 650 in 6 months. And I'm not ashamed to say that. My goal is to get to 700 by the end of the year. But it's a work in progress. It takes time. Like, you just have to do the right things and figure out what works best for you. You can even go on Credit Karma to stimulate your score. They'll tell you like what you need to pay or what you need to do to get your credit score up, to get it higher. I kept my balances under 30%. I cut up all my cards. I didn't use any cards. Like, I stopped using all my cards entirely. I took it off of Apple Pay. I locked all my cards so that no purchases went through. If there was something I really wanted to buy and I didn't want to spend it on my card, I'm like, listen, then you really don't need it because you can't pay it back. You really have to train yourself to do things like this. But also, when I had the money, I paid off my credit cards that had the highest in your percentage rate. So right now I have 4 credit cards. Well, I just got the 4th one. But I had the highest interest rate on my Capital One and my Chase card. I have 3. Well, at the time I had 3 cards: Discover, Capital One, and Chase. My lowest in your percentage rate was for Discover. and Capital One and Chase were like 26.999, which are very bad because that's only like 3 numbers away from 29.99%. So what I did was pay those balances off in full. I think my Capital One was like 3 something and my Chase was like 2 something. Like I was paying them back slowly. Like I paid like, I don't even remember how much I was paying a month. I was paying them back slowly, and I'm just like, listen, these cards need to go. Like, cause I'm not paying like 200. I'm probably paying like $100 or $50. I really don't remember because I pay 100 on one of them. But I'm just like, they're not getting nowhere. Like I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. I just want my score to hurry up and go down. So when I had the money, I paid off both of those cards. My score went up like 60 points by the next month, and I was just like, wow. Like, and by paying those off, I was able to take off those payments from my monthly budgets because they no longer exist. Like that was $100 saved if I was paying 50 on both. So I had an extra $100 to spend because I didn't have to worry about paying those 2 cards. All I had to worry about was paying my Discover off. So try to pay off your cards if you can, or pay off at least half, and your credit score is going to go up by a number of points by just getting your score lower. If you can't pay all, like I said, pay enough so that it goes down to 30% or under. That looks great. It looks amazing on your credit score. Like right now, after I paid off Capital One and Chase, my Discover card, I had like 800. I made a payment to get it down to 390, which was 30% of my score. So right now, I'm under 30%. I didn't pay it off entirely, but I paid it enough so that it reflects on my credit score that my balance is lower than 30%. And of course, budget your money. I keep emphasizing that if you don't have the money in your checking account to pay back or to make a purchase in general, do not do it on your credit card because you're putting yourself in debt. Like, I feel like I struggle with that too. I might really want to buy like a whole bunch of clothes, and I'm just like, damn, I really don't want to spend $250 right now. I'll put it on my credit card, and I'm just like, now I have to think about paying that back every month if I'm not going to pay it in full. So if you don't have the money to pay it, or you just don't feel like spending it on your card, then you don't really need it. That simple. That's the best advice I could give anyone. That's it for my first YouTube video. I hope that I really did help someone out. I hope that this video was very informative to anyone that may not know about credit or needs help building their credit. But if you have any more questions, feel free to DM me. Feel free to comment below. I'll leave all my information below. But make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. See you guys next time.